788, clean at 5.
United 788 Boston, rudders going to maintain 4,000.
Welcome to the Simroom-Tour, and let's start with Chapter 1, the room. And what a tiny one this one is. Actually, I was unsure if I would be able to realize such a wide view setup in this one, since I have found no other reference that narrow. It is less than 9 square meters in size and has partly a sloped ceiling, which reduces again the possibilities where to mount the projectors. While planning the room, I did go for a sliding door to use the space more efficiently, and I have had the room supplied with 3 separate power circuits in order to prevent excessive load situations. The big advantage of a small room is to be able to mount the screen directly to the walls, which makes things much easier. The second advantage is that when looking out from the inside of the shell, you do not see any floor in between the sim and the screen, something I've seen with other setups with huge curved screens. Disadvantage is the limited storage room that I would love to have, since I have always some other sim projects running. Furthermore, heat builds up rather quickly here with 3 projectors and a PC running, so in the future I definitely need an air conditioner. Let's look at the warped screen. Originally I started with a fixed part, so a 180 degrees field of view screen. The material I used was pretty cheap, by the way. It's a bendable white wooden plate that is basically the same you would have in every IKEA shelf at the back side. 50 euros and you're good to go. Yeah, and actually the screen is not really fixed to be precise. It is just stuck into position and kept through simple wooden supports. With the first stage of the screen finished and the first test runs with one beamer, I decided immediately that I would need also visuals to the sides. So I made sliding extensions to widen the screen to impressively 270 degrees in a horseshoe setup. Going for this approach meant implementing 3 beamers. I went for Optima GT 1070X models, and to find out where I will mount them, I simply held them each in place to find the best spots to fix them. It turned out to be rather easy to go that route, and the magic was to find out if they draw a shadow of the shell onto the screen or not. There's actually just a distance of 65 centimeters left between the shell and the screen now, but it works fine and leaves just enough space to walk around it. So what else can I tell you about this setup? Well, the correction of the 3 warped images is done with the software Calibration Pro from Flylease. If you want to find out more about how I did that, please check out the video available on my channel. I furthermore painted the ceiling in a dark color to reduce reflections from the screens. Those are white by purpose, by the way, since I did make tests with grey screens, which did indeed increase the contrast but reduced the immersion of flying in bright daylight quite a lot. So unless you use screens for movies, I would not recommend using any other color than white. So now a rather special thing, my real Piper Turbo Aero 3 shell that I was lucky to purchase several years ago from a guy in Switzerland. I actually had it on a local online marketplace listed for sale for already more than a year, so it seems that many inquired, but I was the only guy who undertook the journey to travel there and get this beast home. It came with quite a lot of interior, for the most important, the leather seats that then can be fully adjusted and the glare shield. The shell is from an aircraft that had crash landed on March 14 in 2003. I have the flight accident report and it says that the pilot had a problem during a short field takeoff, and all in all it went out without injuries, but an unflyable aircraft. All in all, it was an important step to move to an enclosed sim, and it does fit perfectly into the small room. It's especially in Europe not that easy to find those shells, but it's definitely possible, and I'm still thrilled to call this beauty my own. Let's talk about controls. My left seat yoke is force feedback. The base is from Flight Illusion and they used a spare Beechcraft handle that I sent them before. I can truly recommend this solution, and using such a control-loaded yoke immediately changed the way I flew. To simply feel your aircraft is the best experience you may get in a flight simulator, in my opinion. And it made me plan my maneuvers in a complete different way than before. Before I used to fly with a spring-loaded yoke, and I still have it, and it's now mounted on the right-hand seat. With the former one, I could force the aircraft to initialize impossible maneuvers at any given cruise setting that the force feedback yoke would simply not allow unless you undertake extreme strengths to overcome it. While the old one from Precision Flight Controls is still a nice one, it is obviously dead by nature. Let's move on to the throttle, which is as well from Precision Flight Controls. This system is made for heavy usage and worth the money. I did take the mounting base for the throttle out of the unnecessary huge metal housing and got it fixed directly in my panel. With my additionally acquired quadrants, I can now change the type in 2 minutes, from single engine to twin piston to twin engine turboprop. Last but not least, some words about the rudders that were originally CH Flight products. They have been retrofitted by original Piper metal pads. Pretty nice looking and also not control loaded, a good compromise for this setup. Let's go quickly into the next chapter, Avionics and gauges. So those of you who are familiar with my channel know that I'm very keen on the iPad-based Avionics feed of a vendor called Simroom-Tour. You find 2 dedicated videos on them with deeper insight on my channel. The solution is standalone and does not need the computing power of a main PC, thus helps me to reduce hassle and keep my frames unharmed. The mechanical gauges are mostly from Flight Illusion. They start with the rather expensive TRC wet compass, which is crap and by far the single worst purchasing decision of my whole building career. The Flight Illusion gauges work flawlessly and have strong lighting, which is handy in a dark sim cockpit. And despite those gauges are not really that necessary, they add extremely to the immersion and I would never want to miss them. My buttons are connected through a solution from the Sim Modules project, which is being developed by a coding and electronics genius called Chris. It was originally coded for F6 only, but he set it up for me to work as a huge joystick board, and thus the assigning of the buttons is pretty straightforward. All of them have 2 virtual joystick functions, so I can assign on and off keys separate per button. That's very handy and I truly like this solution. If you want to find out more about my panel in general, please check out my video called A Sim is Born on my channel. For my LED outputs I use an Arduino Mega board with SimWim. If you have not heard about SimWim before and you are unexplained, have a look at it. To access the input cards and cabling, ideally I need to remove the front window and the HUD. So gladly this is not necessary too often, and by taking out the left bezel it's still possible to get into touch with the future cloned systems. Here on the front is the power supply and 2 multiple socket outlets. Both run from different supplies. My weak point is that I'm not that much documenting things, so I have not much of an idea what I plugged in where. But it's now running stable for about 2 years, so not bad at all. The last chapter is an extremely important topic to me, since adding the right sounds and vibrations can give you impressive immersions. It can of course never offset the experience of a full motion sim, but adding shaking correctly brings you one huge step further when using a fixed base simulator that just not feels fixed anymore afterwards. But start with the audio. For the sounds, I use a real Aviation intercom with 2 Aviation headsets. The intercom is fed through a dedicated sound card with the full audio output of the PC. Furthermore, add through plugins sounds directly to the sim, like runway advisory, chatter and security briefing audio, which is of course an original one for King S.
Approaching 02. On runway.
For aircraft audio, I currently use the default Laminar King SC90, which has excellent F-mode sounds. So it's nice that there is sometimes default stuff that appeals better than a world of add-ons can contribute. Talking about vibrations, that's a big step for a small sim. Get yourself a huge bus shaker and a good card that drives it. And I'm not talking about deducting vibrations from audio signal, but from a dedicated solution that directly reads your sim software for events. In my case, I use the BFF Bass Shaker V2, which I truly recommend. The vibrations produced by this beast of a transducer, which is directly mounted to my shell beneath the left pilot seat, can really rock the whole rooftop. And my wife got concerned about the house when I first implemented it.
Caution, short runway, short runway.
I always want to thank the fellow YouTuber Roland van Roy for supplying one of his beautiful shaker transducers for my setup, which really was more than kind. I strongly recommend looking at his channel, but given that he has already 20k subscribers, it's likely many of you already know about him. My shaker setup runs currently between 15 and 40% only. 15% adds smooth vibrations when people in the house need rest and do not feel and hear anything there. 40% does already rattle extremely and I fear to destroy stuff in my pedal going higher than that. Everything you see or hear in this video is 40%.
Approaching 02.
Delta descend of 4,000. 4,000, 5,000. 200. 27, 8 miles to touchdown. Number 2, contact tower 120.45. Tower 120.45, 327. Top 327, 8 miles to touchdown. Number 2, contact
So that brings this long video to an end. And in the 2 weeks I've been working on it, I tried to pack as much information into it as possible. I got quite a lot of questions in the last years, and I do hope that those are answered now, and I could inspire other builders to start or continue their work on their flight simulators. So thanks for watching, and in this demanding time, take care of yourself and stay healthy. As always, I am more than interested in your feedback, and if you consider subscribing or liking this video, it will definitely encourage me to continue filming.